What's up? Welcome to this video. I'm going to be covering why sales is more than just closing deals. It's actually very important in every aspect in your life, not just business. Whether you're planning a trip, whether you're deciding where to eat, or even trying to convince your boss for a raise, it's all about sales. And in this video, we're going to talk about sales and how it helps your personal growth. So let's get to it. For this video, because sales has a negative connotation to many people, when people think sales, they think sleazy. For the sake of this video, when I say sales, let's make a commitment that we're not going to think sleazy, because sales is a beautiful thing. All right. And I'm going to show you why it helps you in your personal growth. The first thing we need to do when it comes to selling is really selling yourself first. All right. So sales begins in your mind. It begins with the words that you tell yourself. For example, if you are telling yourself things subconsciously that, you're not good enough, or maybe you're too good, or maybe you have a fear of rejection, or a fear of failure, whatever that root cause is, you have to catch those thoughts in your brain. Because if you can't sell yourself, you're not going to be able to use the beauty of sales to develop personal growth in your life, which will equate to better relationships, more money in your bank account, and better health. It all starts with the words that you tell yourself. So let's go over the law of substitution. When a negative thought comes into your brain, try to substitute it with a positive one. That is sales. You are catching it. It's sales has objection handling, right? We're not going to cover objection handling in this video because this is about sales in life, but let's use it for a second. Negative thought comes in. You got to catch the objection. You have to understand the objection, and then you have to comfort the objection and handle it. Right? Same thing that we do in sales process when we're trying to convince a client to do business with us. However, in this case, you're trying to convince yourself to be the best version of you. So what I want you to do, I want you to do an activity. I want you to start noticing your self-talk. What are the words that you're telling yourself? Catch them, even write them down. And as you write them down, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. Not what you're portraying to the world, because we're good at putting on a mask. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you go to sleep at night, when you are by yourself, when you are looking at that mirror in your mind about how you view yourself and the things that you're confident in and the things that you absolutely suck at. That all comes down to selling yourself. In my previous videos, you're going to be seeing, and then throughout this channel, you're going to be hearing about things like affirmations, visualization, positive self-talk, surrounding yourself with the right people because proximity is power, reading the right books, listening to positive podcasts such as this. And if you like what I'm saying, reach down and give me a like. Right? This is how you surround your mind with positivity, because positivity attracts other positivity. And if you believe in the law of attraction, you attract who you are and not what you want. So the first step in sales is selling yourself. And a lot of people go through life without selling themselves, without believing that they can be the best version of themselves. You are not going to be able to consistently get what you want out of your life if you do not program your mind. So use all these tips to program your mind. And I'm going to go on to further tips. So tip number 1 was selling yourself first. Rewind that, watch it again. The 6-7 things that I told you to do to empower your brain, do them every single day. Keep listening to this channel. Now, Active listening. Most people think selling in everyday life is about powering through things. It's about trying to convince others. It's trying to be a lawyer. Well, what if I told you that's not the way it is? Selling isn't being a lawyer or a politician and getting your point across. It's about understanding. It's about empathy. It's about really getting to the point of where this person is at or this situation is at so you can understand it and then you can try to resolve it. Too many people try to power through their opinion. You know why? Because they want to be right. They want to win. Sellers sell aggressively. That's bullshit, man. No, that's not true. The best salesmen are good, active listeners. Now remember, this is about selling and personal growth. If you become a good, active listener, you are automatically going to have better relationships in your life. So what I ask you to do is to listen to understand. I read a great quote once and it said, listen with your heart. I forget who said it or if it was in a book or a quote or whatever, but it really resonated with me. It's called heartful listening. Try not to listen with your ears, listen with your heart when somebody is speaking. Because if you're, and I know a lot of, highly functional people, they're thinking about 20 things at once. Try to be present in that conversation. Because when I get to persuasion, you're going to understand why the first step in active listening is so very important. The person will tell you what they want. The person will tell you what they're struggling with. Yeah, you might have to dive through the haystack and people are mumbling all around and you have to actively listen even harder and some people talk in circles, but at some point of that circle talk, they will tell you what the issue is. So if you want a better relationship with your wife or your husband or with your parents or your children or your colleagues or your boss, or if you're a team leader with your employees or team members, if you want better relationships in general, try to understand and listen. Listen, I had many successes in sales, wrote down multiple contracts, got that stuff signed, have amazing relationships in my life. Let me give you an example. People come into my office all the time. I let them talk. I probe with questions. I repeated that because that's a very important tip. If you want to be a good active listener, you have to learn how to ask the right questions because that's all you should be doing. So as I'm asking the questions, I let people do their verbal vomiting and I listen. 80% of the time they're talking, 20% of the time I'm talking. And you know what they'll say at the end of it? Rick, you're amazing. I've never had a better conversation. All I did was ask questions and listen. Now I earned their trust and I built a better relationship. So active listening and probing questions to activate the listening is super important in personal growth, okay? So the next point is this: empathy in action. Empathy in action. While you're actively listening, you're listening to understand. And when you listen to understand people, you can offer better solutions. As opposed to listening to advise, like a lawyer. Oh, he said that point? Here's my counterattack, because I want to win. Oh, that person did this point? Okay, this is how I'm going to sell them on this. No. If you listen with empathy and action and you understood the person, like I said, they're going to trust you and they're going to respect you, because all people want, all human beings want, is to be understood. So if you are in a world where you can listen and you can understand and you have empathy, the world is yours. You're going to have the best relationships. But opposed to that lawyer, that politician that's trying to win and convince people, like a lot of us are, that I'm guilty of too. In the past, for sure, I was guilty of it. I want to win. I'm competitive. But how is that serving your relationships? If you're competitive with your significant other, how's your sex life? You know what I'm saying? Man, are you really winning? If you guys are both going to bed at night, opposite corners of the bed, are you really winning? Yeah, you won the argument, you think, but are you really winning? The person who's winning is the person who understands. That's winning. Next step is negotiating in life. Sales in life is every day. You negotiate on what TV show to watch when there's multiple people in the room. You're negotiating on what restaurant to eat at. You're negotiating for a raise. Or if you're on the other side of the table and you're the boss, you're negotiating how not to give the raise. Everything is a battle. Everything is negotiating. It is what it is. You go buy a car. What do? Negotiate. You get a job. They offer you a salary. What do? Negotiate. You go and buy a house. What do? You negotiate. You're getting an interest rate from a mortgage broker for that house. What are you trying to do? You negotiate. So negotiations are happening every single day. You did the dishes last night, and today you want your significant other to do the dishes. What do? You negotiate. So the best negotiation, again, happens where everybody wins. Creating win-win situations in life and learning how to do that is negotiation. However, most sales gurus teach you how to win in negotiation. Win in every negotiation. No, man. That is not true. Yeah, you might win in that transaction, or you might win that argument, but are you really benefiting on future businesses in those relationships if you negotiate where everybody doesn't win? This is negotiation and personal growth. I've given examples about, somebody in everyday life, how they can negotiate. Let me just explain something to you in my world, which is real estate sales. That's how I built my wealth. That was the foundation of building my real estate empire. All right? I'm with somebody that wants to sell their house. And I win in this negotiation. I charge them more commission than I should have because of my negotiation skills. It's above fair. It's too much. But I can do it because I'm a sick negotiator. So I win, right? Cool. Now, let's say this client's name is Cliff. Cliff, in his subconscious, when he goes to bed at night, knows he paid too much. When he goes to a party with his other friends that also have realtors in their life and they discuss and they advise him, hey, Cliff, I think you paid too much. Well, now it's going to get in his ear. Do you think Cliff is going to call you the next time he needs to sell a house, or his friend needs to sell a house, or his mother needs to sell a house, or they're thinking of investing in another property? Did you really win? I don't know. You tell me. Because the next point of this is building relationships in life. When you are really good at these steps that I'm sharing with you in this video, you build amazing relationships in your life. In business, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're in sales or whatever the case may be, we think we're winning, but you only win when you make those relationships expand and extend. When you stop thinking about one transaction and you start thinking about giving them amazing experience, being fair, so they tell all their friends and family, y'all. Negotiating in life is not just about winning once. It's about winning forever. That's the queen. That's the king of sales. You want to wear that crown? Listen to this video. You want to be a clown? Go listen to those sales experts that are just telling you to aggressively get people. They suck. They suck. Because they're good for a day. I'm going to teach you how to be good for life. Business and in life is about building and extending relationships. Your net worth is in your network. You heard that before. And I'm showing you exactly by mastering sales in your personal life will give you personal growth, will give you better relationships, will give you better articulation, better listening skills, better negotiation, and ultimately a better life. Sales is about persuasion. So let's talk about that. We are persuading people, not manipulating people. If you harness the art of persuasion over manipulation, you understand sales. Let me explain. The art of persuasion is taking someone from point A to point B, and in between point A and point B is a person's doubts, fears, and anxiety around moving to point B. A good salesperson is able to listen, pinpoint the doubts, understand the doubts, and then help that person move away from the doubts and be confident on going to point B. That is the art of persuasion, because ultimately you are removing the fears for someone so they go to a point that is more beneficial for them. Not more beneficial for you, the salesperson, more beneficial for them. Man, in life, there's too many takers. Be a giver. Because if you can give, if you can help with the art of articulation and everything we covered in this video, if you can help people go to the point where they want to go, they're going to love you. It's about persuasion, not manipulation. Help people remove their fears to get to where they want to go. The better you get at sales, the better you get with relationships, and overall your life is much better. You have less stress. You're not trying to win. You're trying to understand, and then people gravitate towards you like a magnet. And your mind is positive. Your mind is clear. Your karma is good. Therefore, you're vibrating in a higher frequency, and then ultimately, you're attracting more positive and abundance things into your life. That's the power of sales. Catch you on the next video.